Most insects, however, like moths and butterflies, reproduce sexually and lay eggs fertilized by a male. What is fascinating is that the young looks very different from the parents. They first emerge as larvae, turn into a dormant chrysalis stage, then in a process known as metamorphosis, they assume the adult form of their parents. The butterfly's larva is a caterpillar. It has a set of grinding jaws and a pouch-like body. It is an eating machine that feeds constantly on the plant it lives in. Occasionally, it stops as its exoskeleton begins to restrict its growth. It then sheds this tight outer coat by molting, after which it continues to eat. A new and bigger exoskeleton is produced. It will molt several times until it finally enters a resting or chrysalis stage, sometimes called a pupa. An adult with beautifully colored wings emerges. It begins a new life as an adult flying insect, feeding on the nectar of flowers, mating, and laying eggs. The babies of mosquitoes and dragonflies also metamorphose before they begin to look like their parents. Mother mosquitoes lay eggs in still water. From these eggs emerge tiny larvae called wrigglers. Wrigglers eat tiny bits of suspended food particles. They pupate in their hardened skins and float just beneath the surface of the water. Eventually, the wrigglers emerge as adult mosquitoes, which feed on animal blood or plant sap. Like mosquitoes, dragonflies also lay eggs in water. Their larvae are called naiads. Naiads look like tiny shrimp with big round eyes. They eat tiny water animals, including mosquito larvae. Naiads molt several times before becoming adult dragonflies. Dragonflies do not undergo a pupal stage. This is why their metamorphosis is classified as incomplete. As adults, they eat flies, gnats, midges, and mosquitoes, which they capture in flight. Amphibians, like frogs and toads, begin life as small dark eggs enclosed in tiny balls of jelly. These are fertilized by the male as soon as they are laid in water by the female. Before they acquire their jelly coat, sometimes the eggs are strung together like a necklace or suspended in a nourishing nest of foam. In time, the eggs develop into tadpoles or butete that look like little fish, which first feed on the albumin or jelly surrounding it. Later, they may feed on water plants. At first, tadpoles breathe by means of feathery external gills. In a few days, these are covered by a flap of epidermis and are now called internal gills. But in a few weeks, they undergo a remarkable transformation. Their intestines change, they begin to eat other tiny creatures, they develop legs and lungs, and their tails slowly shrink and disappear. Eventually, they become tiny frogs that look a lot like their larger parents and are very much at home on land or in water. Amphibians coat their eggs with jelly, providing a reserve of water in case a shallow pond dries up. But even in the most arid desert, some animals have developed an ingenious solution: an egg within an eggshell. This strategy works so well for reptiles and birds that they can reproduce in some of the most difficult habitats on Earth. A major drawback, however, was that they laid bigger eggs since water and food accompany the embryo. That's why reptiles and birds don't lay nearly as many eggs as fish or amphibians. And because most hatchlings lacked hunting and survival skills, these animals developed a nesting behavior. A mothering instinct, and learned to protect their few inexperienced offspring. Among the reptiles, some baby snakes are born like tiny versions of their parents, quite capable of fending for themselves. Animals born this way are said to be born alive. The water snake, for instance, sometimes gives birth to as many as 99 live offspring at a time. Even some aquarium fish bear tiny live baby fish. Mammals also give birth to live young. Only 2 mammals are egg-laying: the spiny anteater and the duck-bill platypus, found only in Australia and Tasmania. Most mammal babies resemble their parents, but a group of mammals called marsupials give birth to babies so small and so young they look like fetuses. A newborn baby kangaroo, for example, is born blind and hairless, but it is equipped with strong claws and an unerring instinct to climb up into its mother's pouch. Once inside, it locates its mother's teeth and starts sucking milk, never letting go until it is much larger. Eventually, it becomes strong enough to make short trips out of the pouch, returning from time to suckle.